Alright, welcome to something a little bit different. This is going to be a refresher, well, for me personally, on what I would consider to be my top 5, we'll go with 5. Top 5 bosses of the Resident Evil franchise. It has somewhat shifted since the release of Village. There is one in there that just kind of takes place of an old one for me, and we'll get into that when we get to it. This is going to be in no particular order. So it's not like a best and worst, it's just these are the best 5 in games, in my opinion, obviously. If your opinion's different, or you agree, let me know either way. And without any further ado, we'll get into it. Before it does start though, keep in mind there is Village spoilers in the video, so if you haven't played it, be sure to turn the video off and come back after you finish the game. Okay, so first up we have the mutated Demetrius boss fight from Village. This is the only Village boss fight in the list, so this is your one spoiler. She turns into like a dragon, which is honestly, the design of the boss is so good. The footage I have is me beating her on my melee only run, so it isn't the best visually to look at because I'm just kind of stabbing her in the face, but I think the boss fight's great. The music's awesome. The arena's quite small. On the I remember playing through on hardcore the first time, and I did a hardcore without New Game Plus, so more weapons with default, and it was quite difficult all night. It was quite difficult, but I am yet to play on Village of Shadows. I am still kind of contemplating whether to use infinite ammo or not. I don't think I will, just to kind of make it feel more legit. But I have no doubt that she's probably one of the harder bosses to fight on that difficulty, because her attacks can be quite strong. There is one attack that she does in this fight I haven't actually seen before, where the dragon body itself actually starts to eat you. It doesn't kill you, but it's just like I've never seen the animation before, so I was kind of shocked. I mean, I guess that's what happens when you stand that close. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think the boss fight's great. I think the arena's really cool. The music is so intense, and just how she mutates and what she turns into is just so. I feel like it's quite unique to other bosses in the series. I don't really think there's a dragon type boss. I think the one thing that comes close is that T-Rex guy in Resident Evil 6, but even then that's still just not the same thing. But yeah, definitely a great boss in this game. Probably one of the best. I was gonna say Heisenberg at first, but at the end of the day, with him, not only is half the boss fight super OP, like you are in a tank essentially, but when you actually fight him with your normal weapons, it's kind of like it feels like an original Resident Evil boss, you know, with like the glowing weak spots, and there's none of that with her, so it's just kind of here anywhere. There's obviously critical spots, which is actually like a human body at the top, but I don't know, man, this boss fight's just pretty damn good in my opinion. Next up we have the Stage 3 Birkin fight from the RE2 remake. This is insane. This is actually insane. I think, again, visually the boss looks amazing, and this whole game obviously looks amazing. The remake is so good. It's honestly, like I've mentioned in the previous video, it's like one of my top 3 Resident Evil games. The remake is just so goddamn good. I've played it through god knows how many times, and it's just a blast. This boss fight is always so fun. Like, on the hard difficulties, I'm talking hardcore, this girl doesn't mess around. You have to be prepared, because he hits hard, and he takes a lot of bullets. So definitely make sure you are saving ammo just before this point, when you're going through the labs, because he is no joke. There's a lot of scout around, but at the end of the day, you need as much as you have. Birkin is obviously a presence throughout the entire game, and you find him at different stages, and obviously this stage here is across both characters, but then the stage 4 Birkin is Claire specific, which is where you have the minigun on the lift, because obviously Leon fights Tyrant at the end, and obviously the second run has like the train bit where he's like just a mess of flesh in the back of the train. But this fight is just, again, the soundtrack in this fight slaps. Like, the music always makes it feel so much better when you fight them, and just I don't know what to say. It's a generic Resident Evil fight. Obviously there's glowing weak spots you have to shoot, but I don't even care at this point. Like, it looks so good. Like, it looks good, it feels good, it's satisfying as hell when you beat him on the higher difficulties, and it's a blast, dude, honestly. Alright, next up we have the Village Chief. I believe he has a name. I don't remember the name off the top of my head. But it's the Village Chief from Resident Evil 4. This is the fight that takes place in the barn, where you leave Ashley outside. Thank God, because if she was in there with him, it would just be a nightmare. But I have a thing with boss fights in the Resident Evil series, and you know, in most games really, when you're in like a confined space and it's quite small. The arenas are kind of better for me when it's smaller, because it's more intense. And you know, Demetrius is obviously a good example of that, because it's literally like a square. That's all you've got. And this one again is very small. There's 2 floors, obviously, but the actual arena is quite small. He turns into like this horrific mutation where he's like super stretched out, and then you have to basically shoot him in the head constantly for that, and then after a certain amount of damage he kind of splits off of his body, and then he kind of swings through the rafters. It's like a half body, and it's, I don't know dude, it's super cool. Resident Evil 4 is obviously a classic, like, it's just one of the best. Not in my top 3, but definitely probably 4, I would say. But again, this boss fight is confined, it's super intense. Hard difficulties, again, quite difficult. I'm not a guy who kind of like plays professional on every single run I do, but when I do play professional, it's always a challenge for me, which is why I love it so much. I think I played through 4 on professional 3 times in the past 6-7 months, so finding this guy is always kind of in my head a lot, because I don't know, he just seems like a really good boss fight. Like, look at him, he's just, the design's really cool. The arena's super confined, like I said, and they're always the better ones in my opinion. And yeah, it's just one of the best bosses in Resident Evil 4 for me, and one of the best bosses in the series, I would say, for me. Alright, next up we have the third fight with Nemesis in the 3 remake. This one's an interesting one. Obviously I haven't played the original 3. I have found a way to play it, so I'll probably start it soon. But the 3 remake was the first experience I had with the game, and obviously I'm aware that a lot of stuff was cut, and this didn't really happen in the original. But I don't know, this fight was really cool. I would say that the issue with the 3 remake for me, having not played the original, is you seem to fight Nemesis a lot, and I swear there was other bosses in the other one. What comes to mind is I remember there being a scene from some gameplay I watched where you're in like a park, which isn't even in the remake, and then there's like this massive snake or something. Could be wrong, could be a different game, but either way, this boss fight is super cool. Obviously Carlos is there to help you after a certain point where you have to kind of follow Nemesis as he kind of runs around the outside of the ring. He sits himself on top of those like those electric conductor things, and Carlos kind of calls out which one it's at, and you shoot the buttons and electrocutes him, and then you have some opportunity to do some damage. Again, I'm going off of harder difficulties for these boss fights. This is Inferno. Inferno in this game is the hardest difficulty, and it's no joke. Even with like the extra items like the stars field manual, which I believe increases the window of your dodge, and you know, the extra HP and stuff like that, it's it's still tough. Like, I think this guy could 2 hit you on the Inferno, maybe even 1. And on top of that, even on Inferno, there's extra zombies in the arena, and some of them end up being the super OP ones. Take a few extra shots, which is interesting. This definitely adds to it. Obviously the key here for this one is probably your grenade launcher and your shotgun, and just kind of timing the dodges as best you can, because that dodge is just kind of overpowered. You know, perfect dodge, you get slow-mo, and then you're laughing. Well, that's some easy couple shots. But yeah, he's a tanky boy, but Nemesis dude, he's just iconic, I guess. And this fight was, again, maybe not in the original, but to me it was just a damn good boss fight, and I really enjoyed it. Obviously this is the boss fight before the last one where you get the railgun. That again, that is a good boss fight, but you don't really do much, you just kind of push buttons and shoot glory points until he dies. But this one just, I don't know dude, this is probably the best out of the encounters you fight him. Maybe second place to this is the first one, then the second one, then the last one, but this is definitely the best Nemesis fight in Resident Evil 3 Remake, and again, one of my favourite boss fights in the series. And last but not least, we have the second Jack fight in Resident Evil 7. This is probably just stuck in my brain. This fight is honestly, like, I'm talking about confined spaces, and this is definitely one of those fights where you are stuck in a tiny ass room with a guy that is not messing around. This gameplay is of the fight on a harder difficulty. I believe it's not Madhouse, I believe it's one before that, but could be wrong. This is not Voyage of Mine, this is gameplay I needed to pick up, so this is the boss fight. This fight is insane. Hard difficulty it's also insane. He hits like a truck, he's tanky as hell, you do not have any means of supplies, you literally go in there with what you have until he manages to rip the fence open and grabs the chainsaw, and then you can fight him with the chainsaw, which is just awesome. Again, the confined space makes it more intense. The speed in which Jack moves on the harder difficulties is ridiculous, so you have to constantly be using these bags to your advantage. Because in normal mode, you don't really need them. You don't need these, but you do need them in hard difficulties because they do stun him. And even if it's like a second, it definitely helps out. I personally believe that after the 7th launch and the praise it got, Jack Baker is like an iconic character for the series, honestly. Like, just his attitude throughout the game while he's alive, and then even the dream sequence part where you're talking to him as his human self. He's such a good character in the game, and there's just a couple of lines he says throughout that just made me laugh, honestly. Like, such a goddamn character. He's just so good. But yeah, this boss fight is definitely one of my most enjoyed, and you know what? It's just, if you played this fight on hard difficulties, you know what it's like. It's just insane, and it's so much fun. And that's gonna about wrap it up. Yeah, they are my personal favorite fights in the series. Obviously, since Village released, it has kind of knocked one off of the top 5 with Demetrius. I believe before that it was probably gonna be, I would probably say, a fight in 5. Just because I would play that through with a friend at launch, and it was definitely the bat in 5. I just think it's super fun. It's like it's not a small arena, but it's not exactly like large either. You're quite kind of condensed into a zone where you kind of have to loop it around. But yeah, I just really like that fight. But Demetrius definitely kind of knocked that one out of the way, because it was kind of low down to 5, but at the same time it was still quite enjoyable. But that's definitely changed that list now. But yeah, that's my list. Let me know, obviously, what yours is. If you agree with some of the boss fights that I've said and think they're good, then that's great. If not, let me know who yours are, and I'll see you all in the next one.